take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him.
Time for the Bob Ryan, Gary Tangway podcast right here on CLNS, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob, we've had a parade. This team has ingratiated themselves to the community, from Joe Mazzulla popping in and out all over the place with the trophy, to Al Horford serving people at restaurants, to, again, Joe getting out of the duck boat and walking along, I think President Clinton style, right? Shaking hands with everybody with the trophy. It's just a wonderful moment. And if you can put into words, once again, what happened with the Celtics this year.
This whole post-championship story, actually, you have to start with the whole way the town reacted during the finals themselves. I have been in Boston since 1964. I have been witness to a good percentage of these championships, and I've written the final story on 6 of them, and the last 2 have been in my retirement. I have never seen a reaction to equate to what we have had with this fandom and this team. I know that sounds like a giant statement, a hyperbole, but it's not. It's what I believe. This generation of X, Z, whatever you want to call them, or a combination of X and Z, because I think you got to throw in the people that were fans of the championship 17. This is their team. All the other stuff is ancient history. It's something. It might as well be King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And that starts not just Cousy, but I mean even Bird, the big 3. These are their guys, and they celebrate heartily this generation, apparently. The games, that atmosphere at the Garden for the playoffs, with the closing down of Canal and Causeway streets and the side streets before and after the game, was unlike anything I'd ever seen here. And I've been here since '64, and it's heartwarming. It's fun. It fortunately, they didn't get out of hand too much or what. It wasn't like the last time when somebody got shot. They celebrated, heartily and responsibly, and you're right. And the team has responded to it. They can feel this. I think this. If you want to call it love, fine. This enthusiasm that the fans have for them, and so it was as pleasant and heartwarming and justifiable celebration as any Celtic team has ever been privileged to have. Everybody, there's so many people come off with high marks, so this is the way it ought to be, and we actually put on a good show for America. About how to properly celebrate a championship.
I think all of our championship teams, and we've had tremendous runs, they've all been extremely likable. I mean, Brady made the Patriots likable. Everyone felt for Pierce, certainly, and then Ray and Garnett. Larry Legend and so forth. But, even Larry's one of the greatest players of all time, but you will agree. I mean, Larry isn't exactly a people person, per se. He's a very private guy. I'm not saying anything bad.
No, you're.
But he's a private guy, and he likes his own space, and that's fine. The 0-1 Patriots were just so likable because nobody thought they had a chance.
Right.
Out of nowhere. And they embraced it. This team, and the Red Sox 2-04, just a lovable bunch of idiots, they embraced it too. This team loves the city as much as the city loves it.
Well, yeah, I think so. And it just works. It
just works. And they're all nice guys. And I know that, they're nice guys. They're all in the day of celebrity. And I'm putting professional athletes, Bob, in that category because they are. Yeah. In the day of celebrity, with all of the social media, with all of the attention, with all of the lack of privacy that these people have, sometimes it's very hard to deal with. And I'm not, and people can say, well, they make millions of dollars. I get that. This team has really dealt with it and embraced it. Jason Tatum is, I am who I am. Jaylen Brown certainly is, I am who I am. They're all nice guys, from the coach to the GM. I mean, Brad Stevens, if Brad Stevens was your neighbor, you'd have a beer with him at the fence post.
And there's no speaking of Brown and Tatum now, there's no comparable example in prior in NBA in Celtic history of a pair of guys with that kind of pressure, with all the dialogue at that place. Larry won a championship in year 2.
Right.
Okay. With Kevin won in year 1. Right?
Right.
Paris wins the first year he comes here. DJ wins the first year he comes here. Okay. It's on and on. And then the next group, that was put together on the fly by Danny on draft day in 2007 when he traded the 5th pick to Seattle, picked up Ray Allen. And if he hadn't done that, he couldn't have gotten Garnett. And Pierce is on the verge of, nobody was hanging him up. It wasn't a dialogue comparable to what Tatum and Brown had. When he came here, he was the guy here was Antoine Walker, who was the most polarizing player in my opinion. And people loved him or hated him, and
Right.
Celtic history. Polarizing, great player, excellent, a great talent. Did I misspeak? Yes, he's not a great player, but he's a great talent. These two guys had a unique circumstance in Celtic history, Brown and Tatum, and their path to the championship was unlike any other star players that the Celtics have had. Nobody, by the way, you go way back to the first group, everybody knew why they couldn't win. Everybody knew that despite the fact that they had the all-league backcourt, they had the guys who actually were first in team backcourt. Well, that started in 55. Yeah, and as late as 1955. As early at 50. Sharman and Cousy. Cousy and Sharman. Bob Cousy and Bill Sharman. Cousy was first team all-league 10 years in a row. Sharman joined him for 4 years, right? Point is, but until Russell, they knew the reason they couldn't win, they didn't get the ball enough. They were a high scoring team, but they weren't that good on defense, and they didn't have enough rebounds. And they got Russell, they got everything tied together. Russell made everything, and they also got Tommy Heinsohn the same year, who happened to be rookie of the year, that year. Right. Okay. So that group was put together, that nobody was getting on Cousy for not having a ring, or Sharman. They knew why they went. Okay. But there's never been anything like what these guys had to listen and read if they chose to, and become aware of how people were framing them. I'm so happy for both of them. I mean, they're handling this so well too. They are. I think that. So there's nothing not to like here, folks.
Oh, I know.
I loved Shad Finn and the Globe wrote a very nice column, saying, hey, don't worry about 27, 28, or 29, 30, or 20, or even 25, 4, 25. Enjoy this. Enjoy it.
Right, I agree.
Number one, I say there's a technical reason why you don't want to get ahead of the game, and it's called Kristaps Porzingis' health, which is always precarious.
Sure.
Now, will they be the nominal favorites? Absolutely. Is Vegas going to put them as a prohibitive favorite? I'm sure. How can you not? Everybody's coming back as far as we can see. Really, the first 8. We expect the first 8 back. So, but that, then, they got to stay healthy.
Well, we've seen that with other, Philadelphia couldn't stay healthy. Milwaukee couldn't stay healthy. No. They Miami wasn't healthy. So that certainly comes into play. But as you have said, Bob, once you win that ring, that was the difference between Golden State and Boston the first time they met in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
right.
So it goes, it hasn't been that long since nobody's repeated. It was about 17, 18. It's not like it was ancient history that we,
right.
But we beat, so they was talking, well, oh boy, it's been 6 years. Well, that's not a long time, really. Repeating's hard. We know that. You're a target. They know that. You have to be healthy. Things have to be. Look, I say no further. We have an example here. 2008, 2009. That team was just as good as the team before. And they were rolling. And they were from January.
Awesome. They were going to win.
Except, guess what? Kevin Garnett got hurt.
Garnett got hurt.
And end of story. And then in 2010, that's another Mary. They had a grasp. They had it in their grasp in the last game. Game 7. Should have won Game 7. Didn't win it. Okay. But in 2009, that could have been, and you
Well,
always,
that was supposed to be the team, right, Bob? I mean, '08 was gravy. '08 was
yeah,
get to know each other.
yeah, we
'09,
went
no
right.
win.
They were right. I remember we're all thinking back in 07, '08. The window's now open for the first time since '87 or '8. All right, the window is now officially open, but nobody was expecting 66 wins for that group. Hey, I forever, I went crazy. I had a big throwing cold water on the whole idea after when they signed those three guys and together, put the three guys together, and I said, wait a minute, I wouldn't trade the rest of the. I'd trade the rest of the roster away, or I said I'd trade anybody else's final next 9 for, instead of our 9, and that I was that down. I said, you don't do it with just 3 people, which you don't. But then what they do, they went out and got James Posey. They went out and got Eddie House, and eventually they got P.J. Brown. So they rectified that situation. But anyway, nobody was expecting 07, '08 to turn into a 66-win championship team. But you're right. They were thinking, hey, give them a year together, and then we'll see what happens. They actually had a grace period. Which they would have had it. This team, though, their circumstances unique in Celtic history, and you got to feel good for everybody involved.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the Prize Picks community today. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, their stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Now, here's something that you can think about. What you can think about here with Prize Picks, here's an example of something you could. This is the whole idea behind the concept. Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-pointers made, and Brianna Stewart for more than 23 points. See, it's that simple. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. What it does is it establishes a blueprint, and I think every coach in America or around the world is thankful for the way the Celtics won it, because we are in a me generation. Me, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, me. It's true. It's like me. Get the commercials. I mean, Jason Tatum went through it. I mean, we saw it. I mean, the guy has come of age. He's 19. He's 20 years old. They're throwing all kinds of money at him. You got to be the next Jordan. You got to get the shoe contract. You got to do the ads. You got to be the guy. You got to be the guy to take the last shot. And then he woke up and he realized, and he goes, no, that's not the way it works. I can make, he's going to make $315 million. So good for him. Brown's getting paid. Derek White's going to make $125 million. Good for him. They're all getting paid. So, Tatum woke up and he said, no, wait a minute. That's not the way we're going to win here. And Jaylen Brown and everybody the same way. So now coaches can point and say, look, okay, this is the way you can win a championship as a team. Whereas Jeff Goodman, our colleague, pointed out, and he was the only one to say this, by the way, he thought Jason Tatum was an excellent passer when he was 15 years old. I had never heard that. It was all about the shot.
Right, yeah.
Because Goodman knows everybody. He knows everybody. He knows everybody. But he said that. He goes. I thought he was an excellent passer. We saw it. It took 7 years to see it. So, my feeling now is what this team has done is established a blueprint for the rest of the league to play team basketball, which I don't know about you, Bob, but I will watch 24/7.
No, a couple of guys I'm thinking about lately is it's interesting if they're going to be content with the way it's working out for them. And that's Pritchard and Hauser. They are important key aspects of this, and that they know they're not going to start. Right. Are they okay with who they are at this point in their career? Do they think I want to go get paid somewhere? Or if somebody, are they realistic about who they are? They appear to be, realistic about who they are and what they aren't, and why they are in an ideal place for them, which they are. because they're not asked to carry a burden, but they're asked to help out every once in a while, doing what they do, which they're putting on this earth to make threes, both of them. And of course, Pritchard, by the way, I'm taking credit, nobody for this. That guy, I said, is a guarantee for one sneaky offensive rebound a game. And every game he comes through with one.
You called it.
Yep. Yeah, but anyway, they're important parts in terms of, we're talking about repeating. We're talking about the whole thing.
Well, this is rolling over. This is a life decision, right? Because if I'm their agent, and if they ever asked me, this is the way I'd play it. Because Perk got traded in 2010, as we remember, and we realized that hurt the Celtics big time. That was probably the one trade that Danny made that I was like, ooh.
No.
But he thought he had Shaq, and it didn't work out. But like Garnett said to Perk, you get paid. I mean, you got to get paid. I mean, generational wealth. And we've heard Jason Tatum talk about it. A lot of players in the NBA have come from situations where they don't have that. They have an opportunity for generational wealth where they can send their kids to college. They can send their grandkids to college. They can establish a quality of life. So, and I don't know Pritchard or Hauser's background, but, I believe Hauser's under control for another year. I think they have control of him, and Pritchard. I don't think they're free agents, or if they are, they're restricted.
No, they're not.
So that's fine. But this is the way I played it from them. You play for another year, right? And if you win another one, or possibly you win a third, and somebody goes to pay you a lot of money, you take it.
No, I don't know if anybody, if everybody, you never know who out there thinks what about anybody, and how valued either of them would be.
Well, I mean, let's think about it, Bob. If you're a GM and you look at Hauser and you look at his shot making ability, and you say, I really need a six man that can shoot the three.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't. The numbers are so out of whack in the NBA. But like, say for example, Hauser gets. I mean, if Tatum's getting $350 million, somebody comes up and says to Hauser, "I'll give you $45 million guaranteed to be my 3-point shooter."
Yeah, you don't know, right? Could Pritchard turn out to be a coveted adjunct player? One of the best of our this generation, by the way, was traded 2 days ago. Again, Alex Caruso. And by the way, did you know that his unofficial nickname was Bald Mamba? I love that. I freaked out when I read that. I was on an X. Oh, really? I mean, because we have White Mamba here, our boy Scal, and but Bald Mamba. That guy Alex Caruso is having a very interesting career, by the way, he's a valuable adjunct. That guy,
right?
And he's making a good living for himself. And I'm happy for this guy. But it's one of those deals where he's coveted, but you can live without him. You'd like to have him, but you can live without him too. But there's always a next man up that needs what you have to offer this year. He may not be done. He's played for like 6 teams already. He may not be done yet. But anyway, I could see Pritchard at 25 maybe evolving into that for somebody, or maybe not. I'm just throwing this out on the fly.
We're just talking about the future because, if somebody says to Pritchard, here's $25 million, after a couple of years or whatever, I mean, you gotta, and if you're Joe Mazzulla, you just say good luck and we love you and you go make the money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want.
So I mean, these are all interesting, but meanwhile,
it's look, if that's your only problem, how are we going to keep Hauser and Pritchard?
And then Al, so we officially we feel he's officially back? Did he?
He said it. I heard it the other night. Yeah, he's back at $9.5 million. $9.5 million. He doesn't care. $9.5 million. He'll be back.
Well, he'll do his best. He'll stay in shape. He'll do everything he can to milk one more year out of this. But boy, was he helpful.
Very helpful.
At the right time when this is what they didn't get when Perk went down. They didn't get it back in the
right.
They needed one game out of Rasheed Wallace. Don't get me started on that guy.
Yeah, I know.
And they couldn't get it. But Al Horford came through exactly when you needed him. And
they did. They did. When you look at the money, you look at a guy like Derek White, who is just, even his commercials are humbling. When I see him in the Sam Adams commercials, he's still. I'm like, great, the guy's getting paid, he's getting commercials, he's getting endorsements, good for him, but he's still just so nice. And then for a player like him, who does everything right, who, as you said, isn't afraid to get dunked on. Not afraid to get dunked on, right?
No,
and he gets 125 million. You're like, bravo, man. You know, that's what he's looking at. Bravo. Yeah. That's, you know, this is what I'm saying is for role models to show kids you can do it right and still make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a good point. Good point.
You know,
this backcourt, by the way, we can have the fun discussion someday, you know, about who's the best Celtic backcourt ever. And of course, you know, in their time, Cousy and Sharman, when you were both making first team all in their time, and that's the only way you can talk about it. But in my time here, which, you know, is now 55 years covering the Celtics or watching them, actually more than that, watching them, but my favorite backcourt. I'm not saying it's the best. We can argue whether you like White and Cheney and whether you like, Danny and DJ and all that. But this is these guys, and I'll say it for the millionth time. Every GM in the league has got to be saying, it's not fair if they got two of these guys, one to a customer, please. Thank you very much. We got two of them. It's
amazing.
I've never seen such a wonderfully complementary backcourt that both these guys are.
Here's another thing, Bob, for your argument, and I just mentioned the block shots. Have you ever seen a backcourt do more in the paint? Whether White is sneakily blocking a shot.
Yeah.
How many layups did Drew Holiday have when nobody was?
No, I haven't. And I mean, there are individual guys over the years that I used to, because I loved it. I love post ups anyway. Who was really good down there? Tiny was good down there in his prime. And I'll tell you, another guy was really good down there was Gail Goodrich, and he was only 6'1". But
I forgot about Tiny. Tiny was something else.
Tiny was good. Tiny would post your ass up, by the way, if he had a chance.
Well, he was an MVP, right? Wasn't Tiny an MVP?
Well, he never got MVP because in those days, that was when the dominance of centers went 20 years when only one center winning the MVP. Oscar Robertson sneaked one in. And other than that, it was 20 years in a row that a center, with one exception, won the MVP. And now centers don't even exist, as we knew then. So,
but didn't Tiny lead the league in points?
Tiny led the league in scoring and assists in 72-73. Right. The only person in the NBA to ever do that.
But
and
the Kings.
Although what's his name? Anyway. So yeah, and by the way, he was taller than people think. He was 6. I looked him in the eye, and I'm 6'1". He wasn't. People think he was 5'11". His body type made him look shorter than he was. He projected small, but he was actually a towering 6'1". But anyway.
A towering 6'1".
But you're right about those guys. They did good work inside.
Here's my one thing on the backcourt. I will throw this into the discussion. My favorite backcourt player, not duo. And I have to preface this, one of my thrills was meeting and getting to know JoJo White, was the 08 version of Rajon Rondo.
Okay. Oh boy. Those triple doubles, those early. I'm afraid, it's what he did early. How amazing he was is going to be not fully appreciated historically.
It's not, and it should be.
Oh my God! He was something. It's a very good point.
I said he's got to be the worst shooter in the Hall of Fame, and then everything. When the guys left, everything went south. It just didn't work out. No,
it's a very good point. Yeah, Hondo.
He was. I mean, he'd go up the floor. The big hands. He could control that basketball.
Well, I mean, he's the best 6'1" rebounder. There's one of two. Fat Lever was like that, and he was about the same size. Lafayette, Fat Lever. But Rondo routinely triple doubling at that size in the league. It's we know what Westbrook did, but he was 6'4". He's 6'4".
Westbrook was a better scorer. I mean,
I'm just saying, but he, in terms of triple doubles guards,
right?
But Tiny, Rondo was 6'1". I'm sorry, and doing, of course, very long arms and all that, and it's fine. Oh, it was extraordinary. He was. That was
all right, Bob.
I wouldn't mind going back and you go back. I wouldn't mind going back and watching that team play again. A few games again. Absolutely.
Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. Like right now, I was looking on the app, and it's really easy to use. Just download the app. Lots of pictures for us sports fans. Lots of pictures. And, the tickets for Celtics Game 1 and whoever they play, between $600-700. But the closer you get to actual tip time, it's going to go down. So you and your friends may do a last minute thing, and I know it's a lot of money, but maybe it's two, three of your friends, last minute trip, boom, let's go. Let's see what the tickets are on Game Time. You never know. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Okay, here's the deal. Last minute deals save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Now, the flash dealers save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section for the zone deals. You choose a section, let Game Time choose the seats. Sounds pretty good to me. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's go. Nick, our fearless leader and owner of CLNS Media, Nick Gelso. Follow him at CLNS_Nick on X. I need to say X. He has this. There are 3 starting fives of all time for the Celtics. Which is the best one? Team 1, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Dave Cowens, Bill Russell. Team 2, Rondo, White, Pierce, KG, McHale. Team 3, DJ, Ray Allen, Bird, Heinz, and Walton. My response was the same as yours. What? No Havlicek? No Havlicek? No booze?
And no Sam Jones. And this, which means you're disqualified. You're out of the discussion. Whoever you are, whoever this person is that posted this X, you're not qualified to sit to take part in this discussion. You're just not. And I mean, how can you? I mean, Havlicek, it's just beyond comprehension that anybody that purports to be a knowledgeable Celtic historian would not mention, a member of the Mount Rushmore.
Right. Yeah, I should say this was a retweet by Nick. You're right, a retweet by Nick.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to put. Look, Hondo's got to be on there. Period. I mean, you could pull off. Maybe
Sam has to be in there.
Sam has to be in there. Maybe you pull off DJ. Maybe you pull off. I don't know. Maybe you pull off Ray. It's a tough one, but they got to be in there. I agree. But of the three, I picked team 3. I'd say take off DJ, put on Hondo, and you can put on Sam if you want. But Bird, Heinz, and Walton. Think about this.
That's the team I said that wins in a walk. Bird and Walton were unlike no one's ever seen that, and never ever will see anything like that pairing again. And we're going to assume we're going to be a healthy Walton.
Right. Of course.
Give me a healthy Walton, and with Bird and I'm taking that team right there. That team. So I mean, look. It's a very fun discussion. Okay, that's fine, but you're not qualified to run it if you don't have John Havlicek and Sam Jones.
I know. I mean,
you're not qualified. Please, you have to farm out the responsibility to somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about.
Well, that just goes to show the history of the Celtics continues.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, it's so you're talking about. He's got 4 guys on this team. He has 4 names from this year's team with the greats.
Yeah, you can't. It's got White in there, and you can't. No, you can't. I mean, we love the guy. We're talking about him. We're praising him, but in this particular discussion, he's not worthy yet.
And maybe
now you got a Sam Jones left off.
Holiday's been here for a year, so
yeah. I mean, but when you have a Derek White over a Sam Jones, you're really embarrassing yourself in public. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to. Even if you
franchise. Only one other franchise can put up a comparable,
Lakers. Maybe Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers. The only ones that could put up anything remotely comparable.
I mean, even if you looked at the centers and you went Russell, Cowens.
That's the other thing. Of course, he's got Cowens listed as a forward, and
the center.
Of course he was. Although the fact is that his first couple of games, Tommy Heinsohn started Garfield Smith. And I bought into Garfield Smith at that time too, thinking he was going to be a decent NBA player. And Cowan's, his first game was in New York. They lost that year. And he had like 16 and 17 and 17 6 as a power forward. And Garfield Smith was the starting center. That lasted maybe 3 or 4 games. We can look it up. I know, that's all. And he also tried to bring John off the bench still right away that year, which was insane. And yeah, he was bringing Havlicek, continuing the 6-man,
Right.
Well, of course, that didn't last long either. And I believe John went up leading the league in minutes played, which he did for more than 1 year.
Right.
Probably the first time. So anyway, yeah, Cowan's, his career as power forward lasted about 3 games when Garfield Smith played his way out of it. But Garfield Smith did last long enough to set a record that will never be broken.
And what would that record be, Bob?
He had an airball hat trick from the free throw line in Phoenix. You can only tie it, but you cannot break it. How about that, folks? I think he was 6 for 30 lifetime for that first year and something like that. But he had an airball hat trick in Phoenix. That's something you unfortunately we're never going to have the privilege of seeing.
Wait a minute. So at one attempt at the foul line.
Yeah, you had 3. Yeah, you had 3 for 2 in those days.
Violation?
You had 3 for 2.
Right.
In those days, I can still hear the zinc. 3 for 2 and 43 for 2. Anyway, yeah, right. That was 3 chances to make 2 shots in those days. That was the foul rule at that time. After the bonus. Okay,
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
So that's before they did one. They didn't do 1-on-1 then, and that was strictly in college. Oh, so the Zink would say after the first one would be made, the Zink. By the way, Zink is Dave Zinkoff, the most famous PA announcer. One of the 2 most famous PA announcers in NBA history. And the guy would make the first one. He would go, another. And he would shoot the second one. So anyway, but hey, Garfield Smith, yes, had an airball hat trick from the free throw line. That will never be, that can't be broken.
And only Bob Ryan can bring you that sort of information. Now, another announcement, a major announcement here is we have finalized that Bob Ryan and Dan Shaughnessy will be doing a podcast together with yours truly. It's going to be in July, putting the word out. We're going to make it a 2-parter because I think there's so much there. It is a career retrospective of both of them. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this conversation. And I think the people that follow us, I think the masses will absolutely love it. I cannot wait to do it.
Well, we have to say one more thing, and that is the NBA draft is upon us, and never in my entire time following NBA have I been less knowledgeable or less interested in the draft. Something I used to love in my day, in my prime. I had to do the mock draft thing, and there's a lot of work, but I enjoyed it. But the draft has just been so, because of the pool.
Well, that's the problem, Bob, is I don't think we believe in it.
Well, it's just that you don't know who these people are.
You don't know who they are, but I also don't like. It's kind of like, well, in 3 years from now, I'll find out who the good player is. Then you could tell me where he was drafted.
Well, that's true in all drafts, don't you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, before, but like when LeBron was coming out, we knew that kid right away.
Oh, well, that's
going to have an impact.
Well, I mean, last year we had.
You don't expect anybody to have an impact. But Larry was 23 when he was drafted. I get that. The age thing is a big issue. You know.
Oh, no, it's
but you don't expect these kids to help your team. You don't expect them to have an impact. As a matter of fact, you think you just think that most of them are going to flame out.
Well, and then there's the who are they thing, and the first 2 picks could be a couple of Frenchmen who aren't Victor Wembanyama, that not even remotely it's in the discussion. Now there is a local interest, if we will. Donovan Clingan, there are people, he's going to go fairly high apparently, the UConn center. And the one that intrigues me is, will anybody even take the 2-time reigning college player of the year, Zach Edey, all 7-4 of them. And there's no guarantee he's even going to be taken.
We keep hearing he's not going to go.
And 60 picks, which distresses me, as a defender of the faith of centers and pivot men, but that's going to be interesting to see. Now, of course, the Celtics are picking 30, and whoever he is, don't, enjoy your training camp.
Yeah. Get some autographs, get some pictures.
Yeah, I mean, there's we just don't need any, at 30.
We're all set.
All right.
All right, Bob. On a closing note, I do have one final thought. What, Joe Mazzulla is obviously he's a New England guy. He grew up here. He's very familiar with what Bill Belichick has done over the years as far as getting the players to forget about last year and look forward. Like, remember, I think after the first Super Bowl, they showed up with jerseys and the standings on the back was 0-0.
Oh, okay.
I remember that one. Every day, their practice jerseys, it was like the standing. Yeah. New England, Jets, Buffalo, 0-0, right? So that was like, it's over. Everybody, what do you think Mazzulla does?
Well, it's interesting because we learned that he isn't above gimmicks, that he splices things into tapes for them that are out of sports that make points about life, about things, So let's see. Something we'll find.
I'm interested to see.
There'll be something. I mean, you can't. They've been on it. You can't do what Doc Rivers did because they've been on the duck boat, so they got that one. That ain't going to work. We'll see. We are learning slowly as the layers are unpeeled about who the Joe Mazzulla is, and how he thinks, and because when we started, we knew zero about him. But I knew I played in West Virginia. Okay, fine. Right. I didn't realize he was from Rhode Island until when he was hired.
Right.
I didn't. I don't. But I knew him from West Virginia. No, we're learning more and more about this guy, and there's a lot of stuff. Lots of good things going on up in that head. So, we'll see. That's a good point. But I'm sure he'll figure something.
I think he's going to come up with something. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be interesting to see. Bob Ryan, my friend, always a pleasure. Again, coming up in July, a two-parter. Bob Ryan and Dan Shaughnessy, your career retrospective. We will both begin at the beginning for both of these gentlemen. We've been brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Bob, see you later.